My son is getting ready to start his first season of coach pitch baseball. Up to this point, he'd played t-ball for 3, maybe 4 seasons, but the league that he was in wasn't really a competitive league. It was one of those, like, everybody gets a medal. Did everybody get a medal? No, I think only 2 kids got a medal. Maybe they all got a medal. I don't remember. But it's one of those types of leagues where it's like, hey, the kids just have fun. They really don't keep score. One of those leagues. And I guess is good. But eventually, I was talking to my wife. I said, I want to put him in more of a competitive league, something that's going to build virtue and just build that competitive edge that will benefit him, as he grows up, etc. And so we found a league here. It's called the National Little League. I don't know if it's related to the actual, Little League, like National Little League, but it's called National Little League. And his first season is going to be coach pitch. So now he's going to go from t-ball to the coach, throwing the ball at him. And I remember telling him, hey, son, you're going to be starting baseball. We're going to be going here. And, the coach is going to be throwing at you. And I could have chose my words better because he took me very literal. He says, wait a minute, he's going to hit me? And I said, no, he's not going to hit you. He's going to be pitching the ball to you. And he was like, oh, after that, he was cool. But then I realized, man, I got to start working with him to get him ready. So this was around November, December when we signed him up. The league starts in March. And so for Christmas, I got him a bunch of baseball gear, got him glove, got him, all the things he would need. And so we've been going out once or twice a week and been working on his skills. And his fielding skills are really good, but obviously we got to work on his, hitting skills. This is totally new territory for him. And he's getting the hang of it. But the reason why I share the story with you today is because I just knew this was going to happen. The first time he had the coach pitch to him, he struck out. He's only 8 years old, and he's never had anybody pitch to him. And, for the age that he's at, the coach is pitching fairly fast. And so right away I knew that, my wife and I were even talking about, we need to prepare him for what's about to come, and it's this whole idea of failure. So he's, very hard on himself, even at 8 years old, very competitive. I have no idea where he gets that from, but very competitive, and he doesn't like losing. So we had to start preparing him, look, son, baseball, not the new type of baseball that we're going to be getting into, the coach is going to be pitching it at you, and there's going to be a lot of times when you don't hit the ball. In fact, the best baseball players ever, the greatest athletes in the world, had to have this sit down with them. The greatest athletes in the world fail 70% of the time, in the context of playing baseball. If you take a professional baseball player and you throw 10 balls at him, he's going to hit, the greats will hit 3 of those balls. So I'm trying to get him prepared for this. Hey, man, look, you're going to fail at this. And I think this is an essential thing that we need to teach our kids is failure. And for us as men, we need to get good at failing as well. And so my message to him was, look, son, if you can handle failure, and this is just for everybody, any kid, any adult, if you can play baseball and you can handle that failure, that knowing that you're going to fail, if you're really good, you're going to fail 70% of the time. If you can handle that, then you can handle anything. And the reason why I share this with you today is because I want to talk about why men don't make decisions. And why I love sports like baseball, which I think the 2 greatest, athletic activities, the 2 greatest sports, my opinion, baseball and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I want to tie into why, and I'll tie this into why men don't make decisions. And this is just my own speculation. This is just my own, observation of my own reasons why I hadn't made decisions. And it all comes down to this one word, fear. That's it. I think the reason why men don't make decisions is because of fear. And there's many reasons for fear. Maybe they've tried many things in the past and it didn't work. And so they're afraid of not seeing progress. But I think men don't make decisions in any area of their life because of fear, because we are so afraid of failing that we never get started. Okay, either we never get started, or if we do get started, we begin to compare ourselves to those 10, 15 years ahead of us. And so what is failure? I love the way Elliot Holst described failure. He said, failure is an experience that lends to wisdom so you can become a stronger version of yourself. I think that's a really good definition. Failure builds that virtue. Okay? It builds the virtue, and it's those virtues that help you become better. And so one of the reasons why I like jiu-jitsu, and one of the reasons why I like strength training with kettlebells and strength training as a whole, why I like sports like baseball, is because if you strip away all the moving pieces of BJJ, strength training, whether it's kettlebells, barbell deadlifting, playing baseball, if you strip them away to their very essence, the essence of these activities is they require patience. And today we don't have patience for anything. And they're also centered on failure. Like, you're going to fail a lot. You're going to get caught in a lot of really bad positions on the mat. You're going to strike out a lot. You're going to miss those 1RM PR attempt maximum deadlift attempts, right? You're not always going to hit your fat loss goal every single time. And it's patience through these things. People today want that quick fix, and coaches will say that quick fix, like, here's how to do this thing, and in 2 weeks or whatnot, And so we get so used to that quick fix and wanting guarantees and whatnot when we don't require guarantees from ourselves. It's because we lack that patience. And so I encourage you, friend, to do things which require patience. For me, it's jiu-jitsu. Every time I train, you can see here, this kid I'm training with here, one of my training partners, his name's Joao. Amazing grappler. And I love rolling with him, but I hate rolling with him because he puts it on me really good. He's got really good back attacks, but I know I try to stay as patient as I can, because I know as I grow in patience, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get faster. My timing's going to be better, right? And the more times he takes my back, the more escapes that I learn. And if I can maintain patience, and if I can maintain composure when he's on my back, when he's trying to choke me, those types of things, if I can maintain composure during those things, stay patient and look for the right opportunity to escape, to make advancements, like, I just get better. And that's one of those like life skills that jiu-jitsu teaches us. And I think, in my opinion, I think jiu-jitsu is male initiation, right? If we look at today's times, we don't have any kind of initiation process anymore. Back in the day, and I believe they still do this in certain countries and certain cultures, is they still have initiation process. In the religious space, the Christianity, there's a religious process to becoming a Roman Catholic. There's scrutinies, there's all these things that to prepare you for what's coming, right? I did a video last week about Lent. What is Lent? It's a period of preparation. And so we don't have those rituals anymore that initiates us into our manhood, right? The closest thing we have is getting a driver's license and like having sex. Like, that's how we know we're a man. But it's community. It is other men further along the journey that's required to initiate us into our manhood. And I think jiu-jitsu fills that void, because if you look at jiu-jitsu and you strip away all the parts, what's happening here is you're being welcomed into a community of other men who are further along the journey than yourself, more skills, and they're going to teach you those skills, and you're going to learn by going through the fire, trial by fire. And a great thing about jiu-jitsu is you will not be in control. You will be humbled, you will be humiliated, and you will submit to another man's will. That's just the nature of jiu-jitsu. And then as you get better, as you stay patient, as you stay on the journey, you will get better, and you will soon be one of those mentors. So this is the value of things like jiu-jitsu, things like baseball, is they they teach you that patience. And they require patience. And so I encourage you to do things that require patience. Things like learn a musical instrument, take on art, take up strength training, take up martial arts. I prefer Jiu-Jitsu. I think it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest martial art ever. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but it has helped shape and form so many areas of my life. Start a family. I mean, there's no greater way to develop the virtue of patience, humility, self-denial, self-sacrifice. There's no greater way to develop those virtues than becoming a man that has a family. But it all comes down to that fear. The reason why we don't make those decisions is fear. Fear leads to all those. And once we do make those decisions, then we begin to, the next thing that we do that can lead us astray or whatnot or delay our progress is to compare ourselves to others that are further along the journey. Don't do that. But we're all going to make that mistake, and we're all going to do that. I still do that at times. It's just, I don't know, it's just part of us. I just recommend whatever goal you're trying to attain, whether it's getting stronger, overcoming injuries, losing weight, losing belly fat, starting jiu-jitsu, just get started. Because just by getting started, you're already starting the process of growing in virtue, because it takes humility to get started. And I think this is another reason why men don't start things. We don't seek mentorship. We don't hire coaches in life. I think it's because, this is my experience. We lack humility. We think we know all the answers. Did you know that I've done my own market research. YouTube is a 70% male-dominated audience. And in my experience, coaching with men is a little more difficult. Getting them to do things is more difficult because, number one, they don't want to ask for help. And they think meaning me, we think we can do it all on our own when we can't. I mean, we can to a certain extent, but it's just not going to go well. And so the reason why men don't make decisions also is because of that lack of humility. By getting started, though, if you just get started on the path, you're already growing in humility because you're admitting you're actually smart if you seek out a coach, a mentor, training partners, a place to train jiu-jitsu at. Just by getting started, you're admitting, I don't know. Right, what's the famous line, Socrates, is when he's going through the Apology, Plato's Apology, Socrates' first words were, I don't know. So when we can admit that we don't know, we're actually smarter. Admitting that we don't know the answers and we need help. And that's a very hard thing for men to do. I don't know why it's hard for us. So just by getting started, number one, it takes humility to get started. It takes courage to get started as well. So we're already developing virtue by just getting started. So if it takes humility and it takes courage to get started, then it's going to take patience and perseverance to finish. When it comes to jiu-jitsu, this is a well-known phenomenon. I can't explain it. I don't think anybody can explain it. Once guys start jiu-jitsu, there's this phenomenon that happens is once you get your blue belt, which is about 1.5 years, 2 years of training on average. Some people get it sooner, some people get it later. Men just for whatever reason disappear, stop training. Don't know why, can't explain it. But, or whether it's things get too hard, I don't know, do we quit when things get hard? We have to ask ourselves, we have to kind of have one of those come to Jesus moments. Am I quitting because it's hard? But we need to do hard things to get better. It's patience and perseverance to get started. Strength is about patience. You're not going to press that half body weight kettlebell in just because you've been training for a few months. You're not going to attain that. You're not going to do 100 snatches in 5 minutes. You're not going to be able to see the rapid fat loss as people, claim, ooh, rapid fat loss. You're not going to see those things in, a few weeks. And even if you've been doing it for months, stick with it. Even if you feel like you're not getting better in jiu-jitsu, stick with it. It's only a matter of time. If you can learn from your lessons and learn from your mistakes and not give up, you're going to win the game. I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu, I'll never forget, it was an old taekwondo a studio. And I just remember I was like 20 years old, 21. I just remember walking to the dang bathroom after every single roll, because it was like my coach was like super old school, like no AC, like we're in South Texas, which it's like rolling in a sauna. And it was so hot. And I just remember going to the bathroom, looking down at the floor and just seeing the tile, seeing the white tiles. I'm walking to the bathroom and I'm splashing cold water on my face to try to cool down. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, man, am I ever going to get good at this? Like, I feel like I'm dying after each round. Like, is my endurance ever going to get better? Am I ever going to get better at it? You just got to stick with it. You just got to stick with it. You got to have patience. So if you want to become a more patient person in life, do things which require patience. And the very nature of sports and martial arts and activities like BJJ and baseball are centered on the virtues of patience and failure. And it's the development of both virtues which are required for more consistent progress in your strength training, in your fat loss, and becoming a better husband and a father. It's just required across all things, particularly when it comes to raising a family, because there's no instruction manual that comes with that. I believe it was St. John Paul II, who said, sports is the training ground of the virtues. So one of the fastest ways to grow in virtue is to partake in sports for the duration of your life. Start, from like my son, he started in baseball. He's been in jiu-jitsu since he was 4 years old. And they complain every time I got to take them, but once they're there, they're engaged, But I know that this is going to serve them long term. It's going to teach them about failure. If you can stay calm when you're mounted, someone's trying to choke you, and if you can, another just life lesson of jiu-jitsu is, just think about jiu-jitsu. Just think about what's happening on the mat. You're facing a guy. You're facing a problem, right? 180, 200-pound problem that's intelligent. And you got to figure out that problem. And you cannot turn your back on that problem because it will choke you out, right? So that's a metaphor for life. You can't turn your back on your problems. You've got to face them. And in the middle of all that chaos, you have to remain calm. You have to remain patient and work your way out of that problem. So the sports is the training grounds of the virtues. So I encourage you, friend, if you've never tried jiu-jitsu, try it out. Baseball, any kind of activity that requires patience is going to make you a more patient person. It's going to make you a more virtuous man. And it's virtue that's going to lead to long-term progress. It's going to lead to you becoming stronger on and off the mat, in and out of the gym. But the key thing here is be willing to fail, because you're going to fail. You're supposed to fail. You're going to suck at anything new that you try. Anything new. Like jiu-jitsu, like right here, Joao and I were drilling. He had a competition. He had a super fight coming up. So we're drilling. And we're practicing situations and scenarios. Now, when you practice new positions and scenarios, and maybe you're going to start working on a new game or a new style, you're going to suck at it. You're going to get caught in submissions because it's not something you normally do. Be okay with that. And some guys don't ever expand their game out of fear because they're afraid, well, if I expand my game and I start playing these other games, then if I get caught in submission, I don't want to tap to a belt that's lower than me. Again, our ego gets in the way, but it's all rooted in that fear. Be willing to fail at that thing. Be willing to fail when you start to venture in a new game. Be willing to fail when you start a new training program. Be willing to fail when you're embarking on a different like eating strategy or of some sort. Be willing to fail when you start a new career. When you open a business. Like, that's just part of the process. So to build virtue, you have to be willing to fail. Because failure is the experience which lends to wisdom to become the strongest version of yourself. That's all I got for you today, man. Appreciate you watching. See you on the next one. Peace.